So we are moving into day 3. We're going to be talking about 4 things that you can add now as we move forward into this wonderful relationship with food, right? We're going to call it a wonderful relationship with food. So just to go back a little bit in review, day 1, we talked about the principles of food, right? My principles of food. So that everybody has a unique relationship with food and body, and that needs to be honored, respected, and nurtured, right? Number 2, food is a doorway, and right, it's something you can walk through to figure out what's going on in your body, how to change things in your body, work on healing, right? It's a doorway. It opens the path to new possibilities within your body. And that's because biologically speaking, we need it, right? We need those nutrients. And so it's something you can walk through and utilize as a tool, right? To go where you want to go. Number 3, relationship with your food, between your food and your body, right? Or relationship with your body and relationship with food. That relationship triangle, it's more of a triangle, so to speak, right? Is a great teacher. And so every underlying eating concern, situation, negative thought, all of that you have around your body and food are teachers. They're trying to teach you something that's going on in your body, right? Hi, Allie. Welcome. So that's kind of what we covered on day 1. Day 2, we talked about stinking thinking, the different concepts of the biological and psychological components that we might have negative mindsets within that could have been or have been given to us by media and our parents, our upbringing, right? And the society as a whole, the culture we live in, right? So we went through quite a few of those yesterday, and those are really underlying the principle of our relationship with food is a great teacher, right? So we really dove into that principle and that stinking thinking. Mar, hi! Yay, you're here too. So exciting. Love it. We have amazing people here tonight. Super exciting. Super exciting. All right. So that's day 1. Day 2, going to dive into day 3. We're going to really hit principles 1 and 2 today. So we're going to talk about food being the doorway. And we'll get into that one even more tomorrow, but we'll touch on that a little bit in today. But we're going to really start off with that principle of food being of that unique relationship, right? Every person has a unique relationship with food and body. And that right there is key. That is key because the information out there seems so contradictory let's speak in some like business terms here, right? Not my niche, not my specialty, but I'm learning, right, Mar? I'm learning. So if you were to go sell, let's say, we'll speak to moms at the moment, right? So you want to sell this special type of bottle. You're not going to go sell that bottle to everybody in the world because not everybody in the world is going to need a bottle, right? You're going to be speaking to a mother or father who has a baby on the way, right? Or has a baby. And then you also have to account for the ones that aren't going to be solely nurse feeding from the breast, right? Like you might have the ones that are pumping and putting milk into a bottle, right? Or you have the ones that are using formula. So you're like all of a sudden just went whoop with that marketing, right? And that makes sense when it comes to marketing materials, right? You're going to market to the people that want to buy, that need that, right? So here's where the big conceptions and the big things about food, the generalizations, everybody needs to jump on the keto diet. Everybody needs to do this. Everybody stop eating fat like we did in the 80s and 90s, right? Is that everybody's body is unique. So it doesn't work for everybody, right? So that's one of the big reasons why these diets don't work. That's just one. There's plenty of other reasons, but the biggest takeaway that I want you to get, this is the writer downer, right, is that you have a unique relationship with food and you have a unique relationship with your body, that nobody else has exactly the same formula that you have for yourself. And so it's taking that and utilizing it and making it individually yours. And I think it was you, Stephanie, message below last night if it was you, because I'm pretty sure it was you last night who mentioned you have to be your own detective, right? And I liked that metaphor. So yes, you have to learn your body. You have to learn to appreciate it. That's why we made that declaration yesterday. That's why we really talked about learning to love your body and appreciate what your body does for you. And then also learning to love food, right? Yes, Stephanie said yes. Yeah, I love that metaphor. It was awesome. Yes. So first thing you can do today, starting now, is learn your body type. Okay? So there are 3 different main types of body, right? Mar, I heart food. Yes. Well, you're in the right place. We love food in this group, okay? We might have some stinking thinkings that we're working through, and we might have some goals and things that we haven't figured out yet, but we have all declared that we love food, right? We're at least appreciating it, even if we're not at that stage of full-on love, right? We appreciate food. All right, so body types. There are 3 main types of body types, right? And there's two subs underneath there. So in modern health right now, the people that are really working in fitness, that are starting to grasp on to my body shape is round. It's not always round. You're nursing. That's a different story. So these 3 body types, right? Currently in Western cultures, the words you might have started to hear are endomorphs, mesomorphs, and ectomorphs. All right. So that's the common terminology that's being adopted in modern culture right now around the fitness world. But we're going to go with but if you go back thousands of years in Indian culture, they've had, for thousands of years, what they call dosha. So dosha is body type. It's just probably in Sanskrit, right? I haven't looked it up. I'm going to be completely honest about that. I haven't looked up what dosha means. I just understand what it means. I haven't looked up the actual, definition, so to speak. Okay. Translation. That's the word I was looking for. All right. So in the Indian culture, the dosha, they've had this for thousands of years, and it's the kaphas, the pitta, and the vata. And they literally coordinate with the modern fitness world's terminology. So your endomorphs are your kaphas, your mesomorphs are your pittas, and your ectomorphs are your vatas. All right, so you're going to fall into one of those 3 categories. I'm going to put a link to a quiz if you're interested. You do not have to do it. But if you are interested in figuring out what body type you are, if you haven't yet, I know 2 of you on here have already heard me talk about this, and so you guys have already figured yours out. But if you haven't yet, and you want to learn what your body type is as far as your dosha goes, I can put that link in the Mission of the Day 3 post so that you guys can go take that quiz and kind of learn it and kind of figure out where you fall within that line. However, you don't have to take the quiz because it's kind of obvious for the most part. The dosha quiz is a little bit more in depth because it also aligns with personality and the way food moves through your body and all that jazz. So dosha really goes into even more because it's from what's called the Ayurvedic philosophy, which I'm actually this close to applying for my Master's of Science in it because I'm so fascinated by it, but I digress in that. But I'm super fascinated by the fact that this has been around for thousands of years, right? And they knew what they were talking about. So, all right, moving on. Endomorphs. So endomorphs, this is your body type that tends to hold on weight more, right? When you're talking about kapha, you might also look at it in personality. They might just be a little slower moving. They might not really be into running. Running might be the thing, and they're just like, please don't ever make me run, right? They're just lower energy. They're very grounded, very calm people, right? So that's in the dosha. As the endomorphs, it's just speaking in modern fitness, where they try to separate mind, body, and soul from each other and make it one thing. You're looking at the body type of somebody who just, it's harder for you to lose weight. You're a little bit bigger boned, is what some people will say it, right? I love running except when breastfeeding. Not fun then. No, it's not fun. Not fun at all. So that's your endomorphs, okay? So if you need more explanation of what an endomorph is, please put it in the comments. I can go further into these. I just want to kind of give you an idea. So I don't want to spend a whole lot of time diving into this unless you have a specific question about it, okay? So type 2, your mesomorphs or your pitta, right? So these people, their body type tends to be more of like the middle athletic looking body type. They tend to gain weight and lose weight pretty quickly. They have definitely your A-type personalities fall into this. You're really like powerhouses, you're go-getters, you're very adventurous, very, that kind of personality falls into your pitta. And so the mesomorphs, you'll see more also, they're going to be doing more of the powerhouse workouts, the CrossFits and the running marathons and the triathlons and gymnastics. So you kind of know where I fall, right? And so that's your mesomorph, and their body, it tends, like I said, there's this is where the subgroups tend to be. Who? Me? Yeah, you. So this is where the subgroup tends to be, because you can have a meso that is a little closer to an ecto, or you could have a meso that's a little bit closer to endomorph, right? So there's a little bit of a variation within the pittas when it comes to what types of food to eat and when to eat them. But it's very small. But those are the subcategories. So that it's the sub of meso. So in the dosha world, it would be a kapha pitta or a vata pitta is how they come out. So those are the subcategories of pitta. And then you can also kind of have a little bit of the other ones as well. You might have but then they're within that category. So pitta is the one that kind of crosses over just a little bit. But then you have some people that are like full pitta. So that's why there's actually 5 with 2 subsets, if that makes sense. Please tell me if I'm not talking too fast, because when I get excited about something, I've been told I talk too fast. So just slow down or repeat or something like that, right? Subgroup, like Subway, Eat Fresh. Kind of. Not really, Tony, but you're funny. All right. So, and our third category, again, if you want me to go more into one of these, just put which one you want, for me to express a little bit more about. But I'm trying to make it concise, but also get out the information for tonight, okay? So, ectomorphs, this is our third category, right? In the dosha world, they're called vadas, okay? So these are, you're very thin, very, they have a hard time gaining weight. Normally that's more of an issue for males who are vadas. Usually females who are vadas aren't as concerned unless they're the type, they're super high strung vadas, like the very anxious, can't sit down, always moving vadas. Then they could possibly be in this really low weight, where, they don't feel feminine in their weight because they're so thin. But more so you see that mindset within your male vadas who are trying to get muscle because they're just, very skinny and they can't bulk and they want some shape. So they have a hard time gaining weight, gaining muscles, more of what they're looking for, but they have a hard time doing that. And, but they tend to also be kind of very anxious or fluttery or, like their personality just tends to be very like up in the clouds, kind of free flowing, free spirits, life is a party, um, those kind of things, you know. So not, again, this is just total like, there's crossovers, there's, you know, it's not black and white, but it's just kind of an idea of, you can kind of start to like put names and faces to the different categories so that you understand, okay, I get what this is, right? So those are your vadas, your ectomorphs, okay? So when it comes to, why is this important to know? Why is this important to know? When it comes to eating, so we talked a little bit about this. Stephanie, also, I think you mentioned it last night about, I feel deprived with the meal plan that I've been put on right now, right? That I've been suggested, that somebody said would be really helpful for the stage that I'm in. This is where it becomes important, because based on your body type, which one of these 3 categories you fall into will determine what your macro intake should be. All right, so I'm going to, if you have a piece of paper, this is a good thing to write it down, or you can come back later, rewind it, come to this point and write down. Key point, takeaway first, do not stress this out. Do not turn this into a daily obsession of writing this down and making sure every single meal, because that's not why I'm telling you this. The reason I'm telling you this is so you can be aware of, based off of your body type, this is the suggested, again, this is suggested macronutrient ratios, okay? And why that is awesome is because when you start to adjust the intakes to meet these based on your personal body style, you're gonna fall more into balance. You're going to feel more satiated, full, more like yourself, more alive in your body, because your body's getting what it needs, right? So I'm not telling you this as a new diet plan. You're going to start counting all these macros and da-da-da. No. Unless you really like that and you get energy and excitement from that, we're not going down that rabbit hole, okay? This is just a suggestion of, hey, start to think of food in these ranges when you're making meals. And then that way you're going to feel more alive as you were designed to be. Okay? Does that make sense? Drop an emoji, drop a comment if that makes sense. Because I don't want to start giving this out to you if we're going to take it the wrong way. But it's good information to have. But I want to make sure we're understanding that we're doing it so that we can feel more vibrant, more alive in the body that we have. Because remember, we're going off of that principle 1, that each person has a unique relationship with food, right? And that we're going to honor, respect that, and nourish it, right? To nurture it, okay? So I got cool shades from Tony. Anybody else? You good on me explaining these percentages as with the understanding that they're there to help facilitate you living in your best you for your body, not as an end all, I have to start writing everything down kind of mindset. Anyone else? You can even hit one of the little hearts over here, because you know I like hearts. Thumbs up from Stephanie. Awesome. Okay, I got 2. So we're good. We're going to move forward. All right, so your endomorphs. If you fall in the category of an endomorph, your carbohydrate intake is going to be about 40% of your daily intake. Is going to come from carbs, okay? Protein is going to be 30%, and fat should be 30%. So if you fall into that range of endomorph, kappa, I keep saying it wrong, then you are going to be 40, 30, 30. And so you can see it's very, very balanced, right? If you are a little bit pitta, you might be able to add a little bit more carbs. But you'll know your body based off of, you know, what you've responded to. So it's very, very balanced. 40% carbs, 30% protein, 30% fat, okay? When it comes to your mesomorphs, you're going to be at 50% carbs. So half of your intake is going to come from carbs. Mind you, we'll get more into where all this stuff comes from tomorrow, but carbs are in a variety of things. It doesn't just mean eat a piece of white bread, right? Like carbs come in different ways. But yeah, so 50% carbs, 30% protein, 20% fat. Okay? If you are an ectomorph, you're going to be in 60% carbs, 30% protein, only 10% fat. All right? Why is that important? How does that play a role? It comes down to metabolism. All right? So when we are burning calories, we tend to burn carbs first. So if you are an endomorph, you're not going to be a high carb burning, you're not going to have a high calorie burning body type, right? So carbs are what we feed our body when we are getting ready to burn a lot of calories, okay? Ectomorphs have really high metabolisms. They burn calories very fast. So they need to make sure that they're supplying themselves with enough carbs. All right, does that make sense? So that right there, once you get this balance based off of your body type, bam, you have set yourself up to, you're nourishing your body for the unique way it's designed. Okay? Make sense? Good? We're golden? All right. So yeah, so once you figure out what your body type is, then you can kind of start to play around with your proportions in your meals and figure out, all right, where do I need to get the biggest amount of macros from? And then your body will be able to metabolize that well, and it's just going to set you up for success. Okay? Number 2, we talked about this last night, so I'm not going to go too far into it. Number 2 thing you can add right now is water. All right? We talked about it last night because it is the 4th macro that you need, and your body is over 70% water. That means all of your cells use it, all of your, all the blood vessels, and that's not what I'm looking for. Your blood, your immunity, your when you're detoxing, like everything about how your body functions runs off of water. Okay? If you have concerns with diabetes, inflammation, or weight, then I highly encourage you to really think about not drinking your calories. Okay? Most drinks have a lot of sugar. If they don't have sugar, they have artificial sweeteners, which again falls into our not food category, right? It's not food. It's food-like substance, right? Or not even close. Some of it's just not even close. Like aspartame is just not even close. It's not even food. It's edible. Doesn't mean it's eatable, right? I love that quote. All right. I know I digress here. I'm digressing a lot tonight, but this is like all like super fact. I'm trying to like make it fun. But drop an emoji if it's making sense. I want to make sure that you're getting out of it what I'm trying to put out tonight, because this is all like super fact based. And yeah, I don't want it to be super boring. So if diabetes, inflammation, or weight are a concern for you, right? So this is not an end all. Again, I don't want anyone to get stressed out over this list right here. But if any one of those 3 are something that you are concerned with, because remember, it's your unique relationship with your body and your food. So if you are concerned about your weight and it's something that causes you discomfort or concern, right? Then this is something you can do right now. You can make sure you're getting the proper amount of water, and to caveat that, not drink your calories. Okay, that's adding the sugar, adding any other juices or anything like that, right? Because 1, they tend to be very high in sugar, or they're very high in other things that are not food. And 2, your calorie intake can really exponentially increase without even being aware, because when you're really thirsty and you down a glass of even orange juice, you just consumed a lot of a lot of calories. And then now your body is burning that and you aren't even consciously aware because you're using it in a liquid form. And it's so much easier to ingest liquid than it is when we're slowly chewing and stuff like that, right? So I'm not saying you have to eliminate all those. I'm saying if those areas are concerns for you, then I would really highly suggest going full on water only. And I know that one is like a big one for people, but you're 70% made out of water. And yeah. And so I can dive more into water if it's something you want me to. I know there's cold water versus room temperature water. There's how much water do I need to get into a day? Like I can go deeper into each one of these topics, but I don't want to go into too much because it's super fact-based tonight. And I don't want this to be super long. Like last night's conversations were awesome. I loved it. But I don't want like the fact-based stuff to just like bore you, if that makes sense. So I can go further. If you have more questions about water, please shoot it in the comments. I will answer them. Where do frozen margaritas fall? Asking for a friend. Well, one, there's a lot of sugar. And two, alcohol is a drug. So again, not a food item. And you have to want to know whether or not you want to deal with the consequences, good or bad, of adding something that is not food into your body. So that's my response on frozen margaritas. All right. So it's choice. It's choice, right? Okay. So number 3. We talked about this last night. Again, you were like super intuitive going from that stinking thinking into day 3. You guys were already on this. Stephanie says sugar and toxins. Yep. Sugar, toxins, alcohol is a drug. Yep. So definitely it's a choice. It falls into that not quite food-like substance. Is it something I want to choose to have tonight, right? Ice is frozen water. It is. But then again, that falls under that category of cold water, ice versus room water. There's a whole science behind all of that as well. So I can go into that, but I don't want to unless it's something you want to know. Because I can get really fact-based and I'm really trying not to do that tonight. Okay. So number 3, we talked about this last night, which again, I'm super proud of you guys. So drop emoji if you're still here with me. If you're still like, keep going, you're making sense, you're giving good information, drop an emoji so I know I'm not boring you to death with my fact-based night. And I am super proud of you because you guys were really starting to question these things last night when we were talking about stinking thinking. So I love it. I love that you are already ready to move into that. So number 3 on the list of things you can start doing right now is slow down your eating. Slow down your eating. Okay? Keep going. Thank you, Stephanie. Is room temperature best for water? It depends on when you're using the water. Okay? So I'm going to jump back up to that and answer that question before we move into the number 3 here. So if you are overheated, if you are out in the hot sun, especially here in Florida, we get super hot, right? Or you've done a workout and you're wanting to regulate your body back down temperature-wise, cold water is good. Okay? However, since it changes and messes with the temperature of your body, and your body metabolizes things when it's warm, right? Your heater, your fire, think of fire breaking things down, right? If you're putting cold water on top of a high protein or high fat meal, and you're chasing that with cold liquid at the same time, you're messing with not only, well, now we're touching at a pH balance too, but that cold, when your body's trying to burn calories, now you're playing with the temperature of your body and you're kind of fighting that. So room temperature is good. It's the ideal temperature to drink water at because it's a little bit cooler than your body. So it has a kind of refreshing. However, because it's not so much colder than the 98.6 degrees the average body is at, it doesn't drop the metabolism. It doesn't drop that burning rate within your body. Does that make sense? So cold water, ice water, has its place when you are trying to cool your body down because you are overheated, you're just finished overexerting, right? And you're needing to rebalance that temperature. So that's one of the reasons why in like Chinese cultures, they usually start their meal with hot food. Starting your meal with hot beverage, or usually they use like a very, very thin broth. They start their meal with a broth because it warms up your body, which gets your body going into that metabolic state. All right. So again, it is total choice preference. Some people can't, have a hard enough time doing water, and then to ask them to do it at room temperature, they look at you like you have three heads. But if your concern is weight loss and you are struggling, that's one of those little things you can tweak. And again, it becomes a choice. Can you choose to drink warm water throughout the day, not at mealtime, but throughout the day, so that you're staying hydrated and you're not disrupting that metabolism that's going on in your body? Okay? So that's a very good question, room temperature versus ice cold water. So I'm not saying never have cold water or never have ice water. It's just knowing when to have each one, right? So moving on to number 3, since Stephanie said keep going. Thank you. All right, slow down your eating. Yes, we talked about this last night. Slow down your eating. Why? So the rate you eat, right? The rate that you eat can induce stress in the body. I'm going to repeat that one again. The rate that you eat can induce stress in the body. This is where our psychology and our biology connect. This is that mind-body connection when it comes to eating. If you are eating your food super rapidly, you are telling your body there is a problem. There is something to be worried about because you're not getting the pleasure out of that meal. You're not in that relaxation mode, right? And so you are psychologically telling your body, oh my goodness, there's an issue. There's something going on. Well, there could not be, or you could just be running late to work and you're trying to get your meal down. So there kind of is a little bit of a stress, but you're really telling your body there's a big stressful situation going on right now, okay? Also, biologically speaking, when you put yourself in a stress response, your insulin and your cortisol levels shoot up. So these are hormones in your body, right? And so insulin is what burns sugar really fast. That's what we need. So that's what is missing in diabetics. And so that's why they have the blood sugar crashes and elevations and stuff going on, right? Is because they have that insulin hormone that they're having a problem with, which comes from your pancreas. And then you also have cortisol. Cortisol is our stress response. That's the thing that gets us going. So what those two spike when you're stressed out, when you're in that fight or flight mode, because that's what you need to ward off a situation in a fight or flight situation, right? You need that adrenaline running through your body. You need to be alert and ready to go and move. And then you need to be burning that sugar, that carbs, right, that we talked about earlier. When you have a high metabolism, you're burning carbs faster. That's what your body's going to start burning, because it's like, all right, all of a sudden we're going to need to transfer this glucose into energy. That's why we need sugar, right? The sugar gets turned into ATP, ADP. When it's made, it releases energy. So that's the whole science behind it. So those two spike. When your body is constantly put into this overdraw of insulin and cortisol, right? This is what happens. It's signaling your body to store weight and fat, right? And also to the cortisol starts to dysregulate your eating. Like you start to lose that intuitive eating that we were talking about. So similar to our parents telling us part of the clean plate club, right? Now our body doesn't know because we have cortisol going all the time. We're like, wait, should we eat? Should we not eat? I don't know. Are you hungry? Well, it's lunchtime. Maybe I should eat. But what am I going to eat? And now you're putting yourself in this body of like, well, I don't know. What do I do? Right? And so, right. So those two things happen. The other thing that can happen is there's less muscle being able to put on. So for men who are trying to build muscle, or women, not saying women can't, because women can be boss women too, but specifically men who are the ones who usually think about this when they're trying to bulk up. If you're in that insulin cortisol, you're going to make less muscle. So that's just something to know. And how does that affect women or men? If you're looking to lose weight, if weight is a concern for you, muscle is what burns fat. Like the more muscle you have, that's your fat burning mechanism. So that's why people tell you to go to the gym and work out and build muscle and stuff like that when you're trying to lose weight, because it's true. The more muscle you have, the more likely you are to lose weight too. So if you're in this insulin cortisone spike all the time from being stressed out, which could be triggered by how fast you're eating, right? You're going to store more fat, make less muscle. And now you are in this state of, I can't lose weight. And it literally can come down to the T of how fast you're eating. So there's that. Pleasure relaxes the body. When it's time to eat, slow down your eating, right? In old Ayurvedic Indian culture, they will literally tell their children to eat until it's like a soup in their mouth. That is even a little far for me. But, they've known for thousands of years to do this. So it's not new. There's nothing new under the sun, if you're going to quote Ephesians. But it's true. In the sense now that we know in the psychology aspect of it, when you slow down and you enjoy what you're eating, you will be in that state of pleasure and relaxation, which will allow your body to assimilate and digest your food better, which in turn will allow your metabolism and those hormones to regulate properly so that you can burn and metabolize your food properly, basically, properly. It will happen naturally. Your body will do it naturally because that's what it was designed to do. So if you go to hit back to number 1, if you are eating the proper proportions of macronutrients for your body, right? And then you're getting that full hydration, and then you're slowing down your eating, right? You are now allowing your body to do what it's designed to do. And it's going to put you in the best optimal place for your body. And it's that simple. Okay? Not saying these are easy, because these really go against what we've been taught and ingrained, right? But it will put your body in that ideal place that, as we spoke to last night, if you aren't in the place of eating kale salads, but you really like a hamburger, you're going to get more from that hamburger, and your body's going to be able to process it, right, better just from doing these 3 things. So you didn't even have to change what you're eating yet, and you're already in a better place. Energy and weight and thriving just from doing these 3 things. And you haven't even changed your food, right? So the last one, number 4, is breathing. So this piggybacks onto that relaxation. One of the things that we don't do well enough as a society is breathe. So I'm going to ask a question. How many times have you noticed your lower stomach expanding today when you were breathing? Now, I know breathing is a subconscious thing. We don't usually pay much attention to it. That's kind of the problem. But when have you actually noticed that your lower stomach right there at the bottom has really expanded when you've taken a breath today? And you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but you can put an emoji just so you know. It's just so I know you got the question. But if you want to answer it, feel free to answer the question. Have you noticed your lower stomach expanding fully when you've taken a breath today? And if not, you're not alone. You're not alone. Most people breathe very shallowly. Stephanie, 0. Yeah, you're not alone. Most people breathe very shallow breaths. We are in a society now where we are in our chest. And again, that chest breathing automatically is designed when we are in that fight or flight stance. That's an anxiety-inducing breath work that we aren't even aware of because we're not taught to be consciously aware of our breathing. So there are different types of breathing. In yoga, we call this branch pranayama. There's a bunch of different types of breathing techniques out there. I'm not going to dive into those tonight. But I do want you to start to be aware that just by taking deep breaths, and it's something you can start to utilize throughout your whole day, whole practice towards life, right? But if right now, because these are the 4 things you can do right now, right? Take that breathing and do it right before you eat. Okay? So while you're like putting the food on your plate, be consciously aware that you are breathing and you're feeling your stomach expand. Like the breath is coming all the way down to your diaphragm, because your diaphragm is this like little ligamental muscle thing right here underneath your lungs, and it bends down like this to allow the lungs to fully expand. So when you pull it down, you're going to actually feel expansion into your stomach, right? So if you do that breathing right before you sit down to eat, whether it's while you're putting your plate together or if you sit down and you allot the time, you give yourself permission to have a few minutes to just, it doesn't even have to be a few minutes. It could be like 1 minute, literally. Maybe like 5 or 6 breaths, right? Where you're really allowing yourself to breathe. You've automatically put yourself in that relaxation mode. Now your body's like, oh, we're calm and relaxed. And because you've allowed your body to think it's calm and relaxed, right? Now you're going to eat. It's going to be in that relaxation state. You're going to assimilate that food better. Okay? It's that simple. Now, are these easy? No, they take time. We are very habit-forming creatures, and we will fall back on our typical habits. So we're going to get more into that on Friday. But so takeaway today, learn your body type so you know what macros, percentages, ratios to focus on, but not necessarily get obsessed over. Just kind of like aware. Like Stephanie, you were mentioning the meal plan suggested no carbs, which is weird. Absolutely no carbs at lunch and dinner, which might be good if you're an endomorph, because you might have carbs in the morning and then your meals balance out to where you don't have carbs in the evening. But if you're not an endomorph, then, and say you're an ectomorph, then you're really doing yourself a disservice because you need more carbs as an ectomorph. If you're a mesomorph, you are going to need that balance throughout the day, right? You need 50% of your intake. And even endomorphs, 40% is still not none, right? So learning to play around where you are at, right? No starch at breakfast. Okay, it was no starch at breakfast and lunch. And starches and carbs can come in different formats too. So there's a way around that. But if you're feeling deprived, it's something to look at, is what I'm saying, right? And yeah, so figuring out your body type, making sure you're getting the proper amount of water. If you're concerned with diabetes, inflammation, or weight, really shift over to water only for the majority of the time, right? Because if you're drinking calories or even drinking things that are not food, right, you're going to be disrupting